final semifinalists of the day, Matt Matros from Limitless Coffee and Tea. Come on up. How are you? All right, you can use the mic, and your timer's right there.
Good morning. I'm Matt Matros. I'm from Limitless Coffee and Tea. We're based in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm the last one for the day. I'd like to thank BevNet for having us as a semifinalist, and congrats to all the other semifinalists. This is pretty awesome. Thank you, judges, for getting up early and getting well caffeinated. Limitless Coffee and Tea, we're not just another cold brew or matcha green tea. We're actually relentlessly pursuing the cleanest, most pure coffee and tea in the world. Our vision is to power the productivity of those who want to live the best versions of themselves. Well, how do we do it? Well, coffee is an inherently dirty process. So what we do is we start with a wet-washed coffee bean that we direct source from all over the world, mostly from Central and South America. We then import it into our Fulton Market Roastery in Chicago. We use an air roasting technique, which removes contaminants. And then we brew our product with reverse osmosis water. So we like to say that we literally have the cleanest coffee and tea in the world. Our business started a little bit over a year ago. Our first customer was actually the Chicago Cubs. They went 108 years without winning anything, and then they started drinking Limitless coffee and tea, and they won the World Series. So you're welcome. We now power over 250 offices in Chicago and Los Angeles, mostly through the Kegerator format. We have national distribution through distribution partners such as UNFI and KeHE. We'll be on the streets of Manhattan through our distribution partner, Dora's. And we can be found right now at Target, Natural Grocers, Mariano's, and Fresh Time. Thank you guys very much, and I definitely welcome the feedback from all of the judges.
This is the first semifinal round, I think the first round ever, where we haven't had the gong. So great job on everyone, getting in it under 2 minutes. That was impressive. No gong. All right, Limitless Coffee and Tea. Cold brew, again, you know, tough category, very fast-growing category, very crowded category. Matthew Mitchell, what does Limitless have that can kind of stand out and differentiate from what's out there already?
Well, the story that I thought was great, you know, how clean it is and how pure it is, that needs to come through more on the packaging. Because to hear that message, the consumer, you know, and their brief exposure to the brand, they may not hear all that messaging. So figuring out how that comes across a little bit more strong, I think will give that point of difference, but at the moment, it's not there.
Okay, jump across. Mike Snyder, what are your thoughts on the branding, and what do you think thoughts on how Limitless is presenting itself to customers?
For me, it's a little bit confused with Limitless, and then this just amazing light roast, mellow, awesome flavor that I really liked a lot. So I don't feel like, I think it coaxes you in with a different message than it pays off, and so I think it's a little bit confused. But I liked it. I liked the product a lot.
Yeah. Matt Jimenez, the matcha component, how interested are you in that aspect of Limitless?
Well, you know, the matcha piece it hasn't really quite taken off just yet, really, in the space either. I mean, there's a ton of great products out there, but I'm not quite sure that people have made the leap from cold brew and coffee. I mean, coffee dominates the cold brew attribute, if you will, or process, and so getting tea to then sort of take that leap and have customers identify the cold brew concept to tea is still. There's a lot of education that needs to happen there. But I love the thought of matcha sort of being the lead green, you know, from the brand. I think they have a ton of potential there. But I'm with Mike here in regards to the branding. It still feels a little off, but it'll get there. I do love the fact that the Cubs started winning, so
okay,
that's great.
So where you get the final word of the day.
Thanks.
No pressure. Sorry.
I mean, I like this brand. I think, again, this is for me, just looking at it from an investment perspective and knowing the market. And again, to everyone sort of on this panel's point of cold brew coffee is really, it's tough right now. It's competitive. It's crowded. I think differentiating by getting into the on-premise game, which to Matthew's point is challenging, I think it will be worth it to whoever can dominate that from a sort of cold brew coffee and tea perspective in the end. I really think on-premise, office, those types of channels, hospitality, that for me is that's a white space right now that's not owned yet by a singular brand. I think that would be a great path forward for them.
And she's hoping you could relaunch in Vermont.
That would be great.
Well done. All right. Before we show the audience voting and how to vote, I just want to sit on the couch and do a quick debrief where the judges talk about the 12 semifinalists, what they did right, and ways they can improve as a group. So, this is the 13th time we've done the New Beverage Showdown, and Matthew Mitchell, you've been a judge on a lot of those. What do you think of this crop in comparison to years past?
The bar is set so high. And I remember sitting here maybe 3 years ago and saying, gosh, it's the improvement that we've seen in the quality of packaging, of messaging, of functionality. I mean, it was incredible a couple years ago from the years past. And now the bar is so high that the expectation for new innovation is you have to hit it out of the park right away. The luxury of being able to change your packaging 4, 5, 6 times, get in and test things and revise, that's going away because there's just so many competitors out there and there's so many high quality things. So it's somewhat unfair. I mean, that's a great crop of exciting new brands, but the expectation for really something big is making it tough for them to compete.
Yeah. Matthew mentioned innovation, and we saw some innovative ingredients in these products. We saw some innovative formulations and approaches to new ingredients. What do you think overall in terms of what they brought to the table and in terms of differentiating themselves in their formulation?
Honestly, I think across the board the differentiation was pretty standard. I didn't see anything that was, that had that super wow factor. There were a couple items that stood out. But by and large, to Matthew's point, I mean, it's a very, very crowded space, and there's been a lot that's already done with super premium, quality ingredients. And then when you factor in the cost per ounce place in beverage, it's very difficult. I mean, you have to come out. Branding has to be impeccable. Premium ingredients, flavor profile, and then the cost. So the value to the customer. What does that look like? Very costly in general to get off the ground. You can't do a bunch of refreshes, on the fly while you're already in market. So. It's a tough one. I didn't see anything that just super wowed me, but I think there's some opportunity in there.
Okay. Zoe, we heard about business strategies, plans. Did you think that these brands and their entrepreneurs are on solid footing in terms of their approach to growing?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both Matt and Matthew. It's so difficult right now, and the bar is set really high in pretty much every category in the market. I think, in looking at this from an investor perspective in the last 2 years, I feel very strongly regarding food service, which is sort of a theme. I think, that it would behoove some of these entrepreneurs for sure to take their brand into more of the on-premise. That for me is a huge trend that's sort of we're just starting to see that now. But 2 minutes is difficult to sort of get anything really, impactful across. I did like several of the brands. I think they have great potential ahead of them. But again, I think it's going to be about really figuring out how to democratize. So for me, it's really important to say we can take a brand and maybe we can build it on the coast, but can it really go everywhere else? Can you get it into e-com? Can you ship it on Amazon? Can you put it, in a big box retailer, sort of in the Midwest? Does it fit there? So I feel very strongly about democratizing a brand. And having it be really available sort of all over the country, not just in highly specified markets. So I think the brands here that can do that will really have the best chance of sort of, overall winning or owning their category.
Yeah, great point. Mike, the branding we saw, some of it was really pretty interesting and pretty standout. As far as brand stories, we heard a lot of those too. Mm-hmm. Communicating a brand story and the functionality of a product all in one label for the first, doing it the first time can be kind of tough. How do you think the brands did?
I think some of them did a good job. I think the key here is that everyone was bold and courageous, and I applaud them for that. So I think everybody deserves some credit for bringing the thunder today. I think each of these brands can use a little crispness, a little bit sharpening of the edges, and some of them are all over the place, and some of them don't have enough. But it's like, figure out what those sort of 3 pillars are that you can grab onto and go all in on them and be consistent with your messaging.
Right, great feedback. So round of applause for our 12 semifinalists. Outstanding stuff. And a big round of applause for our judges who were fantastic today. Thank you so much, guys.